me if my background is like backwards or does it look like
Seneca.
normal?
Yes,
No,
sir.
it's placed in the correct
Wait,
way.
so how do we know when we're
I
live?
wish I
I
had
know
one
we're
of those.
live.
Hey.
I just didn't switch your sound on yet. But the image is out there live right now. I can see it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. So if I go to the
If you go to
I
the, if
got a
you go,
notification.
yeah. I'm like,
Okay, cool.
yeah, I'm looking at, so far, two people's looking at it on my page. One
Good. So
person,
I'll send the videos.
somebody's looking at it on my other personal page. So yeah, it's going there. Now I put it on Breaker TV and I put it on a couple other things just to,
To
but
build it up.
yeah, but check this out. This is what you see. That's how I know it's.
Okay. It's so weird because you can see it, but I won't be able to see you.
No.
You know what? Next time we're going back to restream. This is too scary for me, bro. I don't know what's going on. I can't see.
No, you can't see it. Ooh, FT just got it.
Okay, we're good, right?
Yeah, we're good. I'm about to switch over to your other
It's
screen.
time to go live, right?
I'm gonna give you a countdown.
Okay.
I'm gonna put the sound on and give you a countdown.
Okay.
Because we're 3 minutes out. I'm gonna put that intro video in.
Okay, so let me text Amber now to let her know that we're live.
Someone just messaged me.
Somebody just messaged me as well.
We can hear you all. I'm gonna be quiet.
Okay. So we're going live at 7 then?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
All right, so people can't see us right now. We're just building it up. Thank you for everyone being here and on time. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to this conversation. I hope everyone's able to kind of see the questions. So I'm just going to introduce everybody to the show when we first go live, and then I will just call on each one of you one by one. Financial Tea. This is our Tea Time show, and today we're talking about the workforce dilemma, all about the workforce and everything that's going on. And before we get started, everybody do me a huge favor. Go ahead and start sharing this live to all your friends and family as we discuss a really good conversation. And that's just crazy because the way I came up with this topic was not only just talking to individuals trying to get into the workforce, also companies, looking to hire folks. So I was like, what, why not start thinking about some people that I personally know or built relationships with to talk to about how they feel about what's going on? Because hey, I'm just one individual, right? So, join the conversation here. Go ahead and share, and feel free to drop a comment below if you guys would like to chime in. All right. We are good. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. So I want to introduce my panelists here, and let's get ready to start this conversation. First up, I want to bring up Gil. He's a human resource expert. So how you doing today, Gil?
I am well. Thank you so much for having me. Really happy to be here. Yes, I've been in human resources for the bulk of my career, and currently an assistant director of employee relations, and do a lot of HR consulting. My wife and I also run a company called Crispin and Crane. Thank you for having me. Really happy to be here.
Definitely check out Crispin Crane. I did go to one of their events. They do have different events out here in the community, so definitely check that out. I also want to introduce Sabrina as well. We also know her for being the Vice Mayor of Hollandale, and thank you so much for being here as well. How you doing today, Sabrina?
Hi, Carson. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk. Economic, depending on what we can do. And, oh, I'm sorry if you're
We
losing me.
lost
I'll
you
try
a
to
little
fix
bit.
my audio.
It's okay.
I'll work on my Wi-Fi, but it's great to be here.
Thank you, Sabrina. All right. And last but not least, I also have Shawnee here. She's executive director, which I feel is also important. As you guys can see, I kept this panel very diverse. Shawnee, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Carson. Nice to see you again, Gil, and nice to meet you, Sabrina. I'm currently the executive director for a disabilities nonprofit, the Spina Bifida Association in Central Florida. We serve 22 counties. I've been in nonprofit for the last 16 years in various roles. Before that, I did some campaign work in Tallahassee. I'm also a disabled veteran, United States Air Force. So I have had many hats and roles, and I'm excited for this discussion. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. So I'm looking forward. So I'm actually going to get right into it here. I do have a couple of questions here for my panelists. So, like I said, this conversation was all about bringing together a diverse, panelists. I mean, Gil's in HR, Sabrina worked from a legislative standpoint, from a local level, and then we also have Chani here, who's an executive director. So I feel like we get to hear from so many different backgrounds that we definitely would know about the workforce. So my first question to you all is, how do you feel about the comment that has been going on? Like, this is really a comment I've been hearing. It's like, you cannot find people that want to work. It seems like some people like to come behind that question by saying it's because of the unemployment, the amount of money we've given out, which is, during my research was $27.7 billion that Congress passed, which was $600 per week with unemployment. So they're saying maybe that's a part of it. So anyone could chime in first if you would like to, and we'll go from there.
I'll just go since no one has said anything yet. I mean, my thought is, when employers are talking about they can't find people due to unemployment in Florida pays about $230 a week. So, when you think about that, really, you can't, and what people forget is you have to pay taxes on unemployment income, right? Whether you pay it up front or you get it, taken out at the end, you still have to pay taxes on that. So even the 230 you're getting really isn't 230. And then I understand they've added $300 or they did add it for a period of time. When you think that people aren't working because they're $230 a week, your wages are way, way too low. I mean, you can't buy, you can't fill up your tank, you can't pay rent, you can't buy milk, juice, eggs, and diapers in the same paycheck, right? So I think for me, I get really frustrated when I hear people saying that, oh, people aren't working, they're making more money at home than they are coming to work. Even with the $300, that puts us at what? Let's call it $600. So that's $2,400 a month. You're barely making $30,000 a year again before taxes. You can't do anything with that. So I just think it's something we like to throw out there, but doesn't really have much validity to it.
Right. So I'm gonna throw it over, and I think that's some good points. Sabrina, what do you think from that standpoint?
Absolutely. So, no, I think this is a made up crisis that people do not want to work. Gil mentioned that Florida has criminally low unemployment. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. We have one of the lowest unemployment benefits throughout the country. You can, I mean, as the lawmaker who were voting on unemployment benefits and fixing this messed up system we have, which first of all, like people were hardly even receiving their benefits because the problems with the Department of Economic Opportunity, and they knew for a long time that the unemployment system, the website, the way it's distributed to Floridians is messed up, and they just ignored it. And then, of course, when crisis hits, oh, that's when we need to address it. No, we need to address it beforehand. And so, the problem is that, these companies need to look at themselves. Cities do the same thing when we're having trouble recruiting for a position, especially like a specialty thing, like an engineer or a building official. We have to look internally and see, okay, what is wrong with us? Like, why are we not an attractive place to work? Most of the time, it's because of salary and benefits. If you're not paying wages that will attract people, who are out on the job market, and there's plenty of competitive things for them in the private sector, or city governments or counties and federal that are offering way better wages. um, they're going to go over there. Like there's nothing attractive to going to an employer who doesn't really value yourself, and your family and your way of living. So paying a living wage is so important. That's what we've been doing in Hollandale. So through our community redevelopment agency, we've been providing small business loans, mostly grants. Even before COVID, we help fund new startup businesses, from restaurants to any types of small businesses. And to them, we say, okay, this can be either a loan or a grant. For this to be a grant, you're going to have to pay your employees a living wage and prove this to us through your payroll, and do everything you can to keep us local. And obviously, hospitality and restaurants, these are some of the industries that are really looking for more employees and for more people to hire their employees out. And that was a huge part of our industry in Honda, is very tourist beach coastal area in between the airports and the malls and everything. um, a lot of our folks were laid off very early on in the pandemic, and that showed them how these companies really feel and value them. While we learned that CEOs made a lot during this pandemic. So it's looking internally, and seeing what can make you an attractive employer, and really it's paying people more so they don't have to work two or three of these jobs. Thank you.
Wow, that was a lot of good information. That's just some of that I didn't know. I mean, I love the grant, keeping people accountable with companies saying, hey, you need to create a livable wage. So I did not know that. So that's great. Shawnee, would you like to chime into that question as well?
Yeah, sure. Like my other two panelists have said, the U.S. economic system and the blame can't entirely be placed on a $300 a week check. I mean, I believe the pandemic allowed people to realize that they weren't making enough money to begin with, and it certainly isn't enough money to make it worthwhile for them to go back into the workforce. A lot of the jobs, the now hiring signs that I see are for jobs that are difficult, dirty, and usually what I call thankless. So, people want to do things that make them feel valued, things that make them feel satisfied, where they have some freedom of choice. And at the end of the day, they want to feel safe, secure, and that they matter. And the vast majority of these jobs that pay, minimum wage or even up to $20 an hour honestly can't meet those basic needs.
Yeah, that's all really important things, and that's the thing about us here in South Florida. It's already so so pricey to live. I mean, I think we just got it past what $15 an hour, which we still know that takes time for companies to adapt. We're at an at will fire at will state. So I think a lot of those things put barriers with people and have really caused us to really think and while we've been at home. So I feel like all the points you guys said. So, um, and I didn't, the point about us being in an unemployment state for so long, I mean, wow, I just think it just made things worse, honestly. So let's talk about the return to office. They call it RTO for a lot of places. So my thing is, do you feel like returning to the office after COVID? How have you guys personally, felt with that in your personal lives? A lot of employers are saying, because I know we went from like, okay, we're going to do 20% capacity, and some places now are just like, nope, we're going to do 100%. Ron DeSantis said at some point, like, no more masks, whatever. I know we have the vaccines now. So, Gil, especially from an HR standpoint, like, have you heard anything like from people like looking for jobs or wanting to say, I want to go back, but I don't know if I want to go back in the office right now.
Yeah, that's a good, question. I think people are having a really an internal struggle, right? And I think that at this point, some of the questions on whether to go back is less about pandemic, although I think that's still in the back of their minds. But people have gotten a taste of life that is, really much better than what they had before, right? There's a lot of flexibility. You're able to kind of do things on your own terms. You've really gotten a taste of kind of what work-life balance should look like. So now I think people are questioning, how do I then go back to this other stringent thing where I'm just a warm body in a space? Because we all know that we don't work for 8 hours a day or 7.5 or whatever your shift is, right? Most of us, can do our work in probably what, 2 or 3 hours, if that, right? And the rest of the time we're kind of trying to figure out how to look busy, right? So I think what this has done is really forced people to question, okay, do I want to go back to that? And, what can I do to get away from that? So I think the pandemic is still front of mind, but I think the other piece is really, what do I do when I get back? How do I shift my life to this again? So I think people are really struggling with that and really weighing all of their options. I think from the employer standpoint, you talked about kind of the 20%. I think some employers are looking at, can we make this a permanent hybrid model? Can we do 3 days in, 2 days off? Where do we have some flexibility or latitude to tell people, yeah, your position allows for you to remain home? My personal struggle is, if it were up to me, I'd be home all day, right? All I need is my phone and I can do it. But there's an equity conversation that has to happen because it's difficult for the person maybe who earns 3 or 4 times less than me, right? Per month, per hour, per week, or whatever, and they're forced to be there every day, right? And here I am, I'm with a cell phone. Maybe I'm trading, maybe I'm on the beach, maybe I'm traveling. So that's really tough for people to get their heads around. So sometimes, it's less about the work and more about the optics. And, because most organizations are owned or run by, predominantly older white men, that optics piece really comes into play. And I think that's a struggle. So, yeah, I hope that helps clarify or answer the question.
No, no, no. I think that was definitely spot on. I found this sign on the internet in Pennsylvania where McDonald's was doing a $500 sign-on bonus. So I'm just like, to me, from what I mean, I've never seen so many hiring situations. I mean, everywhere I go is big QR codes. trying to reel people in. I mean, now they're offering to pay people's tuitions again, like they did back in the day. I mean, like full-time ride of benefits, and I'm like, these are jobs that normally they don't do, and the hospitality service jobs are really down right now, and customer service. It seems like they're really struggling in those industries nationwide. Um, so I know they are trying to do this hybrid thing. I kind of feel like employees are kind of like more empowered right now. Like I don't know, in a sense, because like I feel like a lot of employers are now kind of scared to be too like, okay, do come back in the office, that's it. I've heard conversations where like, okay, we're gonna take it easy, let's give them a hybrid. These are positions where even me, I'm in IT. Like, there's positions where it's like, wow, they were able to work from home. Some people do really well. Some people, okay, well, how do we hold them accountable? How do we know they're really working? So, a twofold. Sonia? How about you from a nonprofit space? Like, I mean, you just like me. You guys have still been hiring too during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, and I was gonna say, so I was a little fortunate that one of the things I negotiated in my current position, I've been here 3 years, was work from home. So I was already used to working from home a few days a week. But one thing I've always tried to do was with my employees was have that sort of hybrid schedule. Obviously, it's not a good fit for everyone. Person, you and I have discussed. My one of my admin people, she didn't do well working from home at all. There were some performance issues and things like that. So from an employer standpoint, it created another set of challenges for me. But then I just had to become more creative, and which is what I think overall, if employers don't shift their mindset in regard to investing in employees, hybrid work schedules, technology, and other things, they're going to be at a tremendous disadvantage in not only maintaining the staff that they have, but adding and attracting new talent to their organization. So I definitely think that there has been a shift. Everyone's felt it, and again, I think employers are just going to have to be creative and invest in their people.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for sharing your experience too, because it's so important to hear from the employer side too, and not just from the employee, because it's a twofold. You kind of need to hear from both experiences, and then kind of work it out. From That's just my perspective. Sabrina, how do you feel about the whole return to office, and any points
Hmm.
you feel like maybe employers should consider?
Yeah, I mean, at least for the city of Hallandale, we employ about 400 people, and then when we also include our firefighters who are with BSO, that's close to 500. Same thing for many cities. We're employers of hundreds to thousands of people. I'm sure Gil with the school district, deals with a lot of employees, way more than the municipalities. But I mean, right now, I think everyone is in a rush to get back to what was normal before COVID, but we shouldn't. I mean, were things that great then? Not really. Um, and right now, the Delta variant is the number one type of COVID that's spreading in the state of Florida. I just talked to, I'm at a conference right now in Orlando with some of my colleagues from other cities. One is a nurse in the ICU, and she's telling me that um, right now the COVID cases they're seeing are insane. Jackson Hospital, Memorial Hospital in Broward, cases are going up. It's this Delta variant, the one that we saw ravaging through India. It's more contagious and it's a worse form of COVID in the terms of how the sickness and the side effects are. She says young people, the youngest is 27, oldest is 37, and instead of being sick for 2 to 3 weeks, she says people are dying in 3 days, and that's pretty terrifying. Just this week, we had to close our. We do a lot of the cities do childcare summer care camp programs. We had to close our summer camp program for a week to 2 weeks because of COVID cases among the counselors and the staff, despite being vaccinated. So I think there's this push to return to normal when we're not even out of the pandemic yet. Um, but even before COVID, our city was trying to take more proactive stances around work from home or flexible work schedules. So we implemented a 4-day work week, Monday through Thursday. And I think you've seen in the news, like some countries are implementing it and they're seeing, really high productivity and increases in morale among employees. and it's been a game changer for a lot of our folks. They tell us, um, this Friday on Fridays now I can do my grocery shopping. I can do a relaxation rest day and have my weekend for fun. I can go to the doctor, pick up my kids from school. A lot of different things that you didn't have the chance to do before when you were working this traditional Monday through Friday 9 to 5 work week. And a lot of our residents have actually been happy too. They notice the changes. They notice how the service they receive from our employees is a lot different. And during COVID, a lot of our employees, of course, the ones who could, except for police, firefighters, Department of Public Works, the ones who could work from home were working from home. And we never saw a dip in productivity despite all the circumstances. So I don't think it's, people are just chilling at their house on the couch watching TV. They're still meeting their goals and answering their emails and getting back to folks. And there's this whole talk of like, well, what about the conversations at the water cooler? I don't think I've like personally had like an amazing conversation at a water cooler that has like sprung an idea into my head that totally changed the game. Like, and if you notice, a lot of these like think pieces that you're seeing online, these op-eds about this, oh, we have to go back so we can have this like collaboration. They're being pushed by commercial real estate companies, because companies are realizing, wow, like so much of our workforce can work from home, and we don't have to pay rent in these expensive buildings anymore. And so these commercial real estate companies are like putting out these op-eds like, no, no, we need to come back into the office so their business side doesn't suffer. But those are kind of my thoughts, from the city and legislative standpoint.
Yeah, go ahead, Gil. I see you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one thing to Sabrina's point. That whole piece about the collaboration, I mean, that's everywhere. I've heard it daily, heard it with my employer, and I think, my employer has done a really good job of, really kind of being extremely flexible, and I'm kind of really proud that they're considering it. And that collaboration conversation is happening all over. And I don't know that people actually collaborate that much, or that they can't do so via Zoom or via technology. I think some of this is also like a value thing, right? It's trying to get people's heads around, okay, I'm paying this person X dollars. I need to be able to see them, right? It doesn't matter if they're not doing anything behind that desk, but the fact that I can walk by, walk down that hall, poke in and see them there, that does something for me. And a lot of this is also rooted in, the United States for many years was a manufacturing culture, right? So people would clock in, you clock out, you hear the bell when it was time for your 1 hour lunch. So some of this is really hard for people to wrap their heads around. And that is why people think, oh well, they're just sitting at home, they're not doing anything, but I think it also questions, from a corporation standpoint, you know, one, it has to have you consider, is your business sustainable, right? Because if I can truly do the work in a short period of time, is it sustainable? Do we need so many upper level managers, right? So I think those things. I think also there's
We lost Gil real quick. I'm sure he'll be right back with us here in a moment. Such a good conversation, honestly. Like everybody's response about this. All right, so as hopefully we'll get Gil back here in just a moment, but I'm hoping everyone is definitely enjoying this conversation. I actually learned a couple of things, for sure. Okay, Gil is coming right back. I think I see him getting ready to connect, so just hold on a jiffy here.
my sincere apologies,
No
everybody. I
worries,
know we
Gil.
had those were my additional thoughts.
Okay. No, thanks for sharing that because you made a really good point, and I didn't think about that, but I hate to say it, but like some of the old school, ways of seeing how to monitor people, that whole trust with your employees, I feel it is important to build those relationships. I really personally feel that, like Sabrina said, a lot of that stuff wasn't really there, and I think that valuing your employees is very important. Whether you're including them in conversations, you're just checking with your organization to see how you're doing with surveys, whatever it is, because unless you do that, people don't feel good. I mean, it's already bad enough when people have families and they're doing the best that they can. They're trying to make ends meet, and then they go to work and they're stressed. They don't feel valued. So I just think it's a mixture of people just saying, okay, I want to work, but do I want to work for you? Should I find another job or should I go somewhere else? And I do feel like there's more entrepreneurs now. There's people finding side hustles. There's people opening their own coffee shops, hair salons, whatever it is. And I think it's great. I think people should be empowered to do whatever they want to do that makes them happy. But I do know it's important for working to feel valued. I know I'm in the IT industry, so I've been in the IT industry for a long time. So we got hit pretty hard too when the pandemic happened. So even us, like as much as we are state organized, every organization I know, banks, hospitals, wherever, had to ship out equipment, and it was just chaotic. And that's when people really started to feel overwhelmed and just like, wow. But just being to learn that now you can do stuff from work from home, I think is important to consider that. And hey, you are saving money, right? Less light bills, less money in technology, whatever it is, you are saving some money. Um,
Carson, I was just
yeah,
gonna add from an employer standpoint, I forgot to mention.
yeah,
So we actually downsized our office space. We found other office space that was
wow,
a lot cheaper. Um, I mean, it was the pricing was very competitive. We switched offices, I think back in September during COVID. We weren't really there anyway, and we got a great rate in another space. So from an employer standpoint, I just wish more employers would embrace the change. Um, and I think probably employers or managers who are micromanagers may have the hardest time dealing with remote workers. But that's not my leadership style. But I have talked to other executive directors who their board of directors is very hands-on micromanagers, and they've had a hard time adjusting. So I do think it's a leadership style that lends itself to how well you adjust to your employees working through COVID, but also again, from an employer standpoint, being able to shift and look at the benefits of it and not always the challenges.
yeah, Shawnee, thanks for sharing that. That's actually really good. So you guys actually downsized, so that's amazing. But yeah, I just think it's important. I think a lot of people too, they either go back to school because they want to get promoted or whatever it is. I just think right now is for employers just to really invest into your employees and give them that chance of whatever they're trying to do. Some cultures are different in corporations, but I think now is definitely to value them. Yes, you could outsource and go overseas or wherever, but here the reality is, if you're here in South Florida, whatever state you are, you don't want to have to move, right? You've established your family or whatever it is. You may have parents here you're taking care of, and it's important that we, you know, also work-life balance. I mean, I used to be that employee where I never use my PTO. I'll be scared to use it, right? So I know how it feels. Some people, this is the first time being able to say, "Wow, I can think about me for once." It's not work, 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 work. So I didn't know, Sabrina, you was about to say something.
No, I
Okay.
mean I agree with everyone. And Shawnee, you said you save money on a new space for your employees. We experience the same in the city with so many folks not working out of City Hall. We save tens of thousands of dollars in our light and electricity
Wow.
bill. So it helped, especially when we're losing revenue and sales tax dollars. Every little dollar was helping during the pandemic.
Well, we're just about done with our series here. I'm going to just ask one more question to you all and get some input. So, any suggestions to people if they don't want to go back to regular 9 to 5s, they want to start like a side hustle or anything like that? Do you guys, what are your opinions on that? Like any words of advice if they would want to do something like
It's a big question.
Yeah, it
that?
I,
is.
you
It
know,
is, right?
I think the one thing I would say is, if you don't want to go back to the office, start by having a conversation with your supervisor or your boss, and really make an ask, and be very upfront. Hey, listen, I've been extremely productive. In looking at the past year, I've identified, what I kind of want my life to look like. And, I'd like to talk about this continuing indefinitely or where there's flexibility to look at something differently, and see what they say. And then you can at least make an informed decision, right? You don't want to jump out and just leave without having spoken to them or given them the opportunity. Because maybe they say yes. Maybe they say we can try this on a 3 month period and see how it goes. As it relates to the side hustle, I think it's always great to be doing something and to have something that's giving you an added form of income. I think the one thing that I tend to struggle with personally, the word hustle for me, I think we are, I don't know, we live in this era where people think that everything has to be hard. And if you're not moving at 100 miles a minute and doing something every moment, then you're not going forward. And so I think we just have to balance out, you know, what we want to do, and don't assume that, if one day you take a day off and you're not posting or you're not writing your business plan, that things are not going to happen for you. I think about it as a marathon and not a race. The past year, I think people also need to be really kind to themselves, and so that would be my thought. But added income is always good, and we live in Florida, so clearly we need it. So those are my thoughts.
Thanks for that, I think that's a good point. I used to struggle with that too. Sometimes I do. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like an overachiever. Sometimes I gotta remind myself, okay, relax. Um, I agree. I think the biggest thing is at least try, make the ask. You don't know until you ask. You may say, "Oh, I know this person for years. I've been in this company. They'll never change." Right? Still ask, know what your options are, and then you make a big decision. Right? So, yeah. Um, I'm gonna. So this is my last final question, actually. What does financial equality look like to you all? And I'm going to go to Shawnee on
Oh, wow.
this.
Do you want my professional
Whichever
response
one
or
you, what
personal?
the first thing you think of when you think about financial equality.
So the activist in me, first and foremost, I think about eliminating the disparities between black and white wealth. And that's a generational undertaking, but it's one that we have to tackle. Um, I think there's a study, what the latest was 2019, that the typical black household had 12.7% of the wealth of the typical white household. And we know that this gap is not accidental, but rather the result of centuries of federal and state policies that have systemically contributed to the deprivation of Black Americans. From slavery to Jim Crow to institutionalized racism, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to get into all that. But so for me, financial equity and freedom looks like full scale, intentional, strategic plan, individually and collectively, to eliminate those barriers. So individually, things that you can do, but also a more collective effort. And that's going to look different for everyone, um, depending on where you are and what you see. But, you can't deny that there is this wealth gap, and you can't deny history. So that's what I think of when I think of financial freedom.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I do feel like history is very important, no matter what your race or or identity is. You should look at both sides to educate yourself to know the disparities, right, and wealth gap and barriers. Gil or Sabrina, if you have anything on this one,
I'll jump in really quickly. And
sure. So, Sabrina, I think I lost you a little bit. Oh, I think he's about to catch. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, and
I'll just chat while I'll just jump
sure.
in while Sabrina's out. I know the pains of Wi-Fi, so then I'm with you. It's funny that we're having this conversation and there's any technical difficulties. I think also people point to this, right? Employers tend to point to this. Well, people have issues connecting. They go on a meeting, as an added thing to say to look to, right? Like this is why this doesn't work. Um, but I would say probably, financial freedom is such a big thing. Um, when I think about being financially free, I think about, independence. And I think about the fact that there is a massive, a massive gap. I think for the most part, most people would of course love to be wealthy and have unlimited sources of income. But I believe specifically for marginalized groups, they would tell you that they would just take the ability to have options. For me, money just means options, right? No more, no less. And I think people just want options. I think marginalized people want options, and they want to not struggle, right? You want to be able to make a purchase and not have to wonder, okay, do I have to check the account? Do I have to see if it covers it? I really think a lot of people, there's this perception that we talk about money all day, get money, but people really just want to feel comfortable, around their spending and their finances. And I would venture to say, comfort probably starts at, I don't know, 350, 400, $500,000 a year. That's where comfort begins. It doesn't have to end there, but I think for a lot of people that's a starting point. Now, how we get there, I think that I think that we really have to ask ourselves, what we can accomplish within this lifetime, and then what we can leave behind in terms of a legacy. Because part of where we are, and Shawnee gave some great points, is because we started so far behind, right? So, when I look at my mother and my grandmother, sure, I do maybe better than they do, but they also did a lot more with a lot less than I have. So I think I have to also question, who I am and how I'm approaching money, because clearly they were doing something that I wasn't or that I'm not able to do. So I think it's a really complex conversation and one that's always evolving. Money's such a personal thing, and I think we don't talk about it enough, but wealthy people sit around and talk about money all day, right? There's this notion that no, they don't, it's rude, it's, they sit around and talk about money day and night, right? And unfortunately, people of color have gotten this message passed down that it's rude to talk about money, it's rude to ask about it. So unfortunately, in our circles, we're not having conversations around investment and value and things of that nature.
Right. Yeah, thanks for that, Joe and Sean. I know we lost Sabrina, but this is such a great conversation. So, this is actually towards the end here. So, for those of you all that don't know about Financial Tea, we are specifically about financial literacy. So, our mission is to empower and rejuvenate people by creating safe spaces, resources, and accessibility for everyone. And that's everyone, LGBT, black and brown, whoever, whether you want to be, an investor, if you want to just boost your career, whatever it is. And I think it's the biggest thing. That's my only solution I can do as a person, right? And I think as a people, we all would have to, you can either present an idea or do something to help the community. So this is why I created Financial Tea for this exact reason, not to just have these conversations, but especially for black and brown folks, we don't always have these conversations because it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you can feel bad, ugly, whatever you feel inside. But I don't want people to ever feel judged, and that's why we're having our workshop starting in August 14th, which I'm super excited about that. We'll be talking about real estate, credit, and the IT industry. So these are things that I personally had to do on my own, and I'm hoping to help as many people as possible. Whether you're going to start your own company, your own nonprofit, you want to invest in cryptocurrency, I'm going to bring the resources for you all and have more of these dialogue and conversations in a safe space. So I also invite everybody that's watching. We're having our launch party July 31st. Super excited about that. It'll be at the Signature Grand. You will have live music. You'll hear more about the workshops and meet amazing people. You keep networking, right? You got to start meeting people that can be a blessing to your life, or whichever term you want to use. Good energy, zen, whatever. I think that that's also important because we all go through it. I think the biggest thing about the pandemic that everybody will remember is we all were impacted in some type of way. I don't care where you were, everybody was impacted mentally, physically, financially. So we're in it together, and I appreciate all my panelists here for being here here on the Financial Tea channel. This is Tea Time, episode 2, the workforce dilemma. And I hope everyone has an amazing week. And again, stay rejuvenated. And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was very nice to see you again.